project management competence stages. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management expert. I help professionals to become successful project managers. How I do that in practice can go in several different ways, from providing training, one-on-one coaching, and even consulting for companies there. So if you're going to develop your project management skills, my goal is to help you in this journey there. Before I forget, don't forget to like and share this video here. This is very important so it can reach more people and more people can learn project management. But I am going to be able to understand the value that this video has for you, and I also keep me motivated to create more content, more free content for you. And also, this is part of the warm up of the Project Management Summit. The Project Management Summit, it's going to be a free event, 3 classes where I'm going to teach you. I'm going to go into details to the project management mastery journey that you see here. And also I'm going to teach you how key skills to move for the different levels there. Everything free. If you complete everything, you get a free certificate there. The only thing you need to do is subscribe. So let's talk about the project management competence there. Well, to talk about that, I first need to go one step back and talk about the 5 stages of learning or 5 stages of competence there, which is of course very important to understand in the journey that we are doing there. So if you look for the 5 stages of learning there, you have five: unconscious incompetency there, conscious incompetency, conscious competency, unconscious competency, and conscious unconscious competency. I know it looks complicated, but basically, what does it mean? The first level is you don't know what you don't know. Let me bring an example here. So I'm from Brazil, if you don't know it. In Brazil, the local community there, or the original population there, they had a language called Tupi-Guarani. And they were a tribe, and this language exists there. And unless you are from Brazil, likely you've never heard it on Tupi-Guarani language. And why I'm talking about that? Because then, if you are just hearing from now about this language, Tupi-Guarani, this is where you are in the unconscious incompetence there, because we were not even aware that a language called Tupi-Guarani existed. So that's why basically in this level you are like, I don't know that I don't know. Examples that you can have in project management. If you know, for example, what's a critical path, what's a work breakdown structure, what's net present value. If it's the first time that you are hearing those terms, you are here because simply you've never heard of it before, so it's not even possible for you to master that one. The key challenge in these stages here is lack of awareness. I just mentioned, how can you learn something that you don't even know that exists? So then we go for the next stage. For example, in the case of the Tupi-Guarani, now you know that exists the language. So what would be if you want to learn? So that's why you say, I know that I don't know right now, like bring it to a project management, net present value. Now you know that net present value exists. If you do not know what's that and you want to learn, you are in this stage here. So you are in the stage number 2. Once you start to learn, and here in this stage, what's the challenge? That you can feel kind of overwhelmed or disencouraged there, which can be challenged, mainly if you're moving into project management, if you're completely new, or if you're looking for career change. And there's a lot of project management terms that you probably have never heard of, which is not a problem. What's important for you here is avoid that you feel overwhelmed or disencouraged, because I've seen happening with people. They say, I'm going to learn project management. So they see a lot of things that they need to learn. They say, it's too much. I'm not going to do it. This is if you are interested in the position, if you are interested in a project management career, and if you need to develop this skill because you're a manager, you want to grow in a company, you need, instead of focusing on the number of things that you don't know, you need to be excited because there's a lot of things that you can learn. So once you are in the level 2 here, you're going to focus to learn. So you're going to learn what's a net present value, what's a critical path, what's a work breakdown structure. You can work, what's a sprint. All those things you can learn. And once you start to build the knowledge there, it's important that you focus also on putting this knowledge into practice. Coming back to the project management mastery journey here. Basically, if you are on zero, if you don't have any project management experience, the level that you can get in this curve is more or less up to here in your project management mastery journey. Simply because you can acquire the knowledge. So let's say you are in the level 2 and now I'm going to learn. So you are going to learn what's a net present value. You're going to learn what's a critical path, what's a work breakdown structure, or in the case of the example of the language, say you're going to learn what's Tupi Guarani. But to make sure that you can move in the project management mastery journey from a level that you are level 2 or between 2 and 4, where you are the learner, to kind of the practitioner plateau there, you need to implement it because you need work, practical work here. You need to develop the skill. So if you think about to master something, you have three items that you need to build. You need to build your knowledge, you need to build your skill, and of course you need the right mindset to make sure that you work on that one, or the right attitude to face those challenges. You're not going to master something if you don't have the skill. And the only way to develop the skill is practice. Making an analogy here, you cannot say that you know how to swim if you've never entered the pool in your life. You can study all the books about swimming that you want, but you only learn how to swim if you enter the pool. That's exactly the same thing here. If you want to progress to one level to another, from if you want to move from those initial stages here in your mastery curve, in your mastering journey, what I'm highlighting here in red, you need to have practice. So to make sure that to, to make this step here, you need practice. This is very important because once you start to practice, you develop the skill, you already have the knowledge because you have studied, and if you're doing this in the right way, you already have the mindset, you already have the attitude here. So practice is essential because if you have the practice, then you can move for the next level here. You're going to get to the level of conscious competence there. What's important in this level? You know how to do things, but you need to concentrate a lot. Here, a lot of people, a lot of project managers that they get lost. And here is where they get in the plateau. So let me clean this up. Here's where the project managers they get into the plateau. Because although they have some level of skill, they have challenges in implementing. So let me do it again. Knowledge, skill, and mindset. If they have the knowledge, they have challenges implementing this into practice, so they have challenge to develop the skill. And they get stuck. And to develop the skill and a good project management skill there, if you want to move forward in the project management mastery journey there, it's not only one skill that you need to develop. If I look this in a project management broad perspective, you are going to need, of course, to learn the project management fundamentals. You know assumptions, risk, requirements, how to define the scope of your project, work breakdown structure, critical path, how to create a timeline, how to estimate it, and so on. But also you need to understand other skills. You need to understand finance. You need to understand how you're going to lead your team, how you're going to be a good team member, how you're going to prioritize things, how you're going to make decisions. Because all those things you need to take here the knowledge, the theory that you have, and you need to make the you need to bridge the gap here. So this is quite important. And to make sure that you can bridge this gap in a proper way, it's not only something that you study. Let me give you an example here. You can understand, okay, what's a critical path? Critical path is the chain of tasks that define a duration of project. So let me draw here. Let's see, you have a chain of tasks here, and they are interconnected. So this comes here, this comes here, and then let's assume that in your project, then you have another task here. So one task here that we make and you have another tasks. So if all those things are happening in the same project, what I'm drawing in red here is the critical path. Why? Because from here to here is the long duration that's going to define the project duration. This duration here is smaller, as you can see visually. What is the problem with that? People understand the concept, but they did not understand how to bridge the knowledge to put that in practice. Meaning how you're going to use the critical path to prioritize things with your team. How you're going to use the critical path to prioritize activities. How you're going to use the critical path to make sure that you can deliver your project on time. Those are different things that usually people don't make the gap. So project managers, they have some knowledge, they have some skill, and they reach the plateau. And there's the other pitfall because they are working with project management, they have some experience. They think they are already in a very they are think they are already in a late stage, the stages of learning or stages of competence of something, and they keep stuck it. So they stop to study, they do not look for to complete their skill set, they do not look to complete their tool set. What would be an analogy for that? Let's say you learn how to play guitar. And at some point, okay, you can play a few songs and you say, now I know how to play a guitar, I'm a very good guitar player and so on. Yes, but between being a guitar player that you play in your own time just for fun and going to like play professionally in a band or something like that, there's a huge gap, and that's what we are talking about here. But to move from the conscious competence to the unconscious competence here, you need a lot of practice. And practice and make sure that you also cover the other type of knowledge that you don't have. So if I draw it again, the circle, this in project management to raise your level of competence to make sure that you can move to the next level to be a consistent performer there. You are going to need to acquire a lot of knowledge, put all those different types of knowledge in practice there to make sure that you can perform, to make sure that you go from someone that work with projects, has some type of inconsistency in the results. So let me go back here. Let me clean this up. So you're a project coordinator, a project manager, but you lack a bit of consistency in what to do it, how to do it, when to do it. Sometimes you do not know how to handle things. You are not consistent in how you are going to deal things with your team and so on. But you need practice to move to another one. And so to move to the next level, and let me change the color, you are going to need the practice plus the knowledge. And of course, the mindset is always needed, the attitude there, the right attitude there, it's always needed. That's why also why it's one of the things we are going to talk about in the Project Management Summit. But how can you do that? Because you are working under pressure, and this pressure there will put you in difficult positions, and then you start not to be able to perform properly. And if you're not able to manage this pressure properly, you can even get to a level of a burnout there. And then if you move forward in the scale there, you're going to get to level of unconscious competence there, which where you can do things, you can perform, you don't need to think about it. And then for the next level, of course, you are so good that you can start to teach people. What's important also to understand here, when I talk about the knowledge, there's different levels of understanding something. So for example, I've been working with project management since 2009. The first time I've heard about critical path was already in 2009. But through the years, my level of understanding and my holistic view and how those things are interconnected, I went to I went to few layers deeper in this type of knowledge. For example, when you talk about work breakdowns, when you talk about change management, and people say agile, for example, or Scrum, you should embrace change. Fully true it. But Scrum has a change management process, although it's not called a change management process. What's that? Well, the product backlog has one owner there, that's the product owner, and this person will define whatever request for change if it should be implemented or not, based on, of course, on vision, on needs, and so on. But going through this gatekeeper, that's the product owner, this is a change management process. This is what I mean by deeper level of understanding. A lot of people, they cannot make those connections there. But when you're acquiring your knowledge there, just because you've seen something once does not mean that you have all the knowledge in the world. And why I'm mentioning that? Because I've heard it from people that has no experience in project man, never work with that. So if I go back to the curve here, they will be around this level here or at some point here. And they come and tell me, I know project management, I just don't know how to apply it. Well, if you don't know how to apply it, you don't know really. If I ask you, do you know how to swim? And you tell me, yes, I know how to swim. I just don't know how to swim inside of the water. You don't know how to swim in this case. You might have a good idea, you might have studied that one, but you need to enter the pool, you need to practice it there. And why I'm telling you about those different stages of learning that goes together with the project management mastery journey there, because you need to understand that some concepts you are going to need to learn to see more than once. Because repetition, it helps into your learning process. If you see something once, what happened? What's the retaining information curve? Let's say you are zero, you do a training, boom, you peak. While the time pass, this knowledge or this retention starts to go down. So you need reminders to keep going, to keep the retention high. And more you do those reminders, more the information will consolidate into your mind and deeper level of knowledge that you are going to have. It's a very different thing to have a surface knowledge level on something and to have a deep understanding about something else. Making a very analogy about swimming. You can say, I've read all the books on swimming. You can have some knowledge, but if you don't have the practice, the level of knowledge in how to apply on this, in how to do the movement, and how we should work, those kinds of things is different. And and that curve here is also one of the reasons why if you're looking for a mentor or for a coach, you should find someone that achieved some level of performance in the area that you want. Going back to the analogy of swimming there, would you take swimming lessons or would you hire to be your coach, a swimming coach, someone that has never entered a pool in your life? So be careful with that. Nowadays, you have plenty of specialists that you can find online, but not a lot of people will be inside of the pool. They can teach because they read in the book, they ask ChatGPT to explain to them, but they've never been in this plateau here. This plateau here you can only reach with practice. If you don't have practice, you can never be here. So if you're looking for a mentor, for a coach, make sure that he or she has practice. It's very easy to tell people what to do without having done it yourself. So be careful with that. And to make a joke here, one of probably a couple of months ago, someone asked me in my Instagram Q&A box how to be a billionaire. Well, I'm not a billionaire, so I cannot even explain to you how to be a billionaire because I simply don't have the practice. So be careful with this kind of stuff that you see online. And then for the other level of competence there that you reach a level that's so deep that now you're able to teach about that. You are able to coach other people, to mentor other people. But what's the challenge here? That you need to stay humble. Because guess what? The this level here, it's not the end of the road. Once you get to this level, then you are going to get to the level that you can create your own things, that you can continue to learn. Because also very important, project management keep evolving. New technology, new challenge, the world is changing. You need to keep learning. So stay humble and continue to learn is very important what you do here. So in the level of competence of a project manager there, it's you need So what I want you to understand from this entire discussion. First, if you look only on the knowledge part, you are going to have different level of understanding. So if you look for a deep, for example, so let's say this is, let me put it blue, this is the water. If you are learning something for the first time, usually you touch the top of the water here. If you want to go for a level of very high competence or very high master here, you need to start to deepen your knowledge in what you're doing. The way to do that, continue to study, repetition, reviewing, seeing different on different perspectives. For example, you learn waterfall, go learn agile. That will give you different perspective. If you learn agile, if you learn, for example, waterfall and Scrum, you go to a deeper level here in the pool. If you learn waterfall, Scrum, Kanban, and Lean, for example, you go for a deeper level here. That's what you want. But this is one of the skills that you're going to need to move forward in the project management mastery. So those things are complementary there because you can be good in one skill, for example, waterfall, Scrum, but they're not the only one that are going to make you to develop in the component in the journey here in the project management mastery journey. So be aware of that. So my message for you is regardless where you are in the journey, and we are going to talk more about the project management mastery journey in the project management summit, be humble. Depending on the phase that you are, if you are in those stages here, first, don't feel overwhelmed. Focus on what you can do. Focus on your actions. Not, there's so much to learn. Everybody has a lot to learn. Focus on what you can learn and what you are going to do today to learn. And if you are in the level here that you are in the middle of the scale, you're already in a stage 3 where you are already in a plateau, then you need to start to look for the other types of skill to keep developing yourself. Again, don't forget this is part of the warm-up for the Project Management Summit. It's a free event I'm going to make to help you to develop your project management skill using the Project Management Mastery journey here. Then we are going to go more in deep in the journey, plus other other skill sets that you need to develop there. And also don't forget to like and share this video so we can get to more people and more people can learn project management. And if you have questions, write down in the comments or send me a direct message on Instagram. I reply everybody on Instagram. I reply all direct messages myself. So it's not a robot or anything else. I'm replying everything. Bring me your case, bring me your challenge so I can understand how I can support you. Thank you and see you soon. Bye.